परमादर आयुक्तामयमानेन धर्मार्थसुखसाधनम् आयुर्वेदोपदेशेषु विधेः परमादर आयुक्तामयमानेन धर्मार्थसुखसाधनम् आयुर्वेदोपदेशेषु विधेः परमादर आयुक्तामयमानेन धर्मार्थसुखसाधनम् आयुर्वेदोपदेशेषु विधेः परमादर
Ayurveda is a part of our great Vedic heritage, and it's one of the most ancient sciences of health and healing. Through the serial, it's our humble effort to carry the message of Ayurveda to your homes and hearts. I hope and pray that we will have your blessings for this great venture.
Over the past several episodes, we have seen in great detail how Ayurveda is knowledge of life, an alternative system that more people all over the world are taking to in a big way. In this episode, we discuss the future potential of Ayurveda as a reliable healing system and the effective role that it can play in the health management systems all over the world.
बहुत सारे दूसरे मुल्कों में विश्व भर में हुआ है कि अनेक परंपराएं, अनेक संस्कृतियां हुई, लुप्त हो गई, नामशेष हो गई। वैसे आयुर्वेद नहीं होगा, क्योंकि आयुर्वेद ने आने वाले युगों को पहले से देख करके अपने उसके खिलाफ नहीं, उसके साथ रहने के लिए कौन सी युक्ति होनी चाहिए, इसका निर्णय पहले से दिया है।
Doordarshan, I'm happy, is producing this kind of film. There is a large amount of need for educational material, educational resources from children onwards. I think we must have, in my view, not that children are already overburdened and they are big bags, we don't want to swell it, not by more and more books, but by 1 hour, 2 hours a day, or 2 hours a week. Walk around a village or somewhere, look at your flora and fauna, make them proud of their biological heritage, not only biological heritage in terms of plants and animals, but also in terms of the wealth of knowledge which those plants and animals have been able to generate in human mind over a long period of time.
चॉक, ब्लैक बोर्ड से लेकर के, पेंसिल से लेकर के आपके वीडियो कैमरा तक, या उससे भी बढ़ के और होंगी, पर ये सभी साधन सामग्री जो है, इसको आप नाकार कैसे सकते हो? यदि इसको नाकारना है तो वो मूर्खता होगी, वो आयुर्वेद का आदेश नहीं है। तो युगानुरूप जो उपलब्ध हुआ है उसको विवेकपूर्ण अपने उहापोह के द्वारा अपने हित में प्रयोग करो।
We were survived all the onslaught, although many invasions came, but our sum and substance of our knowledge base is still intact. Only thing we know, which become very, very obstinate, orthodox, impermeable, and it does not grow. It started putrefying. Let us come out of that one. Just like Vivekananda said, rise a lion, sleeping lion.
We may have, let us say, how many? 1600 plants in the total Ayurvedic text. There are about 45,000 species of plant found in the country. There is a tremendous amount of folkloric knowledge which is not part of Ayurvedic classical text, but which can be combined, added, or substitute some of the plants in the Ayurvedic text which are not available or which are difficult to find, or which are, let us say, less effective than something else which is available now. This is R&D.
That means you have a market, if you know. We have the knowledge, wisdom. Only thing, what do you need? Yeah, I think a killing spirit, a sportsman spirit, and put it into international market. Speak in their language.
These products are used not only in India, but we have been fortunate to successfully introduce them in Europe. And there's the time when allopathic chemical products, their inflow to India or any developing country from Europe and America is taking place and increasing tremendously. At this stage, we have been successful in reversing the trend. We are supplying and exporting these products to Europe and America and Canada, like UK is our biggest market, Germany, Austria, Czechia, Denmark, Italy, they are our big markets.
Medicinal plants, medicinal herbs, some of the shrubs and so on. Both veterinary medicine also, not only human medicine, but many plants of animals, of sheep and goats, they also can be cured by means of a number of plants. Veterinary medicine, I think we should cultivate more awareness of this.
Ayurveda is the science of life, which applies to treatment as well as for prevention and living a healthy life. And the same principle with the use of nearly same or different herbs is applied to the animals. And as regards the literature, Nakul Sanhita, written by Nakul at that time on Bhojpatras, that gives various prescriptions. In this particular condition, in horses or elephants or dairy animal, this mixture of herbs should be used in such and such manner. And there are separate treatises like Gaj Sanhita, that is a treatise on treatment of elephants. Then Matsya Puran, separate treatise for treatment of aqua species. So this aquaculture is developing nowadays. But one can imagine, even in those thousands of years back, they knew that they also fall prey to various diseases, and you need something to promote their growth or to keep them healthy, because they knew that the problem can be passed on through the food chain to the human being.
We came across manuscripts and a large textual tradition dealing with plants and plant life during the course of our research about Ayurveda, pest control, disease management. How does Indian tradition or traditional sciences look at these? Now, Vriksha Ayurveda is quite comprehensive. There are various kinds of manuscripts and literature on it. On the one hand, there are texts like, let us say, encyclopedic compilations like Agni Purana or Brihat Samhita, which has specific chapters devoted to the subject of Vriksha Ayurveda. And then there are allied literature like even Kautilya Arthashastra or Ayurvedic texts that talk about the science of plants. And then there are manuscripts or texts that are devoted completely to Vriksha Ayurveda, like Surapala's Vriksha Ayurveda. There's a text called Vriksha Ayurveda by Surapala. Or Krishi Parashara, that is attributed to the sage Parashara. Now what's interesting is that the literature of Vriksha Ayurveda is comprehensive and deals with a large number of areas. For example, Vriksha Ayurveda covers areas like soil testing, water management, taxonomy, anatomy and physiology of plants, pest control and disease management, storage of seeds, harvesting of seeds, what is used as fertilizers.
We have a very rich treasure of written books in India which give a lucid description, and what was required and what we are doing is to validate those claims. With the changes and new challenges which have come in, the required development has been done through research, and to produce at a large scale commercially the products to be made available on a larger scale, one has to be conscious about maintaining the standards and quality. And from a herb to find out what is the active principle that must always be there in the optimum quantities, that is ensured with the help of modern equipment.
In an age where we are talking in terms of organic farming, how can we increase production, how can we increase productivity and keep this still as part of a sustainable cycle without damaging the soil, without damaging the plant, etc. Something like the traditional science of Vriksha Ayurveda has a lot to offer.
Systems that are closer to nature, as in ecology, as in organic food, And certainly in such a rich tradition as Ayurveda, the whole work that is being done for examining, and actually biotechnology, which seems such a frontier, which is a very frontier science, but it is going back to nature, to extract from nature the active principle in, let's say, a plant, and thereby formulate a drug around it.
The point is to search for new drugs. New drugs means, what I am emphasizing, our stock of Nighantus, it has become very old and it is exhausted also. So now you should try to study the drugs which are beyond Nighantus, which are in forests, which are in tribal areas. There are hundreds and thousands of such plants which are not described in the text.
Maybe our great rishis have missed an active principle in something else, in, let's say, a deep sea organism, or a deep sea weed, or some bacteria that grow in the volcanoes deep in the sea. They survive in those extreme conditions. Now maybe they have something which can be useful for cure.
We must look for the new plants. And these new plants are in great numbers, not say only 4 or 5, but it may go to hundreds or thousands. So we should prepare a glossary of those plants, just like Nighantus, and prepare their names and also uses.
I wanted the modern pharmacology and pharmacists to, develop idea from Ayurveda. I said Rasa Guna Virya Prabhava. Ayurvedic people don't know how to translate into action. I said, suppose I give you a new plant, how you will evaluate it? And they said, we don't have methodology. I said, we have to develop methodology.
In next 20 years onwards, it is going to be a boom for natural products, because allopathy people are becoming aware of their side effects and they are not solving the problems, while it is Ayurveda which is going to solve the problem.
I have great faith in Ayurveda, and I think that it has done me a lot of good, and I certainly believe in it.
Each science has its own strengths and limitations. So it's very critical that the Ayurvedic community realizes and accepts their own strength and community. So also the modern allopathic pathy also realize their own strengths and limitations, and they come together. And then with mutual respect and understanding, we need to not integrate but interface.
It's an extremely difficult thing to do. It is an intercultural dialogue, not an easy thing to do. There are linguistic barriers, cultural barriers. So that's what I am struggling to do now.
If you look at whatever the texts say, they were written some thousands of years back, and times have changed. Like there's a lot of change that has come in this society, in the modern world. So there has to be some sort of chopping off and some sort of adding into the text. And I think the text need to be rewritten in the modern context.
I'm not very sure 2000 years from now how people would look upon Raman or Gandhi. Whereas Charaka's book is still being read. Students read it. They use it for practice, particularly in the North India.
Ayurveda has a beauty of looking at a person as a whole, looking at a specific condition, looking at the surroundings of the person.
I am brought up on Ayurveda and belong to a Kerala family. So naturally from my childhood I've always used Ayurveda, especially for oils and so on. Not so much as a treatment, but all these oils and so on were part of our existence. And whenever anything was wrong with us, we would of course only call a Kerala Vaidyanraj or whoever was around just to treat us. So it's nothing new to me, and I've always felt that oils it's a very sensible treatment because oils are good for the body. Like any machine has to be oiled to make it run. The body also has to be oiled to make it run. And especially I think for dancers in Kathakali, we bend our limbs in such a way that it's very stiff on the arms and on the back. And even Bharatanatyam, I do both the techniques. So even the fingers get stiff after many years. The back gets stiff, always holding a certain position. So I think for all that, Ayurveda is the only solution.
Be it the public health people, be it clinicians, be it the medical teachers in the colleges, none of them know anything about any of the Indian systems. The whole concept of doshas, the whole concept of having an approach to medicine which is holistic and applicable to a human being as an individual, not seen as groups of human beings having similar problems. It is something which is very, very different from the allopathic approach.
At undergraduate level, everything, even an MBBS student must know Ayurveda. Why should he not know? He is an Indian doctor. Why he should not know what is Ayurveda? This is what Prime Minister of India recently said, that in all medical colleges, some amount of Ayurveda should be taught.
Our effort is to see that the MBBS curriculum allows exposure to Ayurveda and other efficacious Indian systems to be given to the young graduate while he is being prepared. And we have written to the Medical Council of India, and we are now preparing exactly what we think the exposure should comprise of.
Today what we are finding, the revival and interest in Ayurveda is happening basically because of a shift to the Vedic way of life. And this is not appreciated because Westerners do not, or many of us do not understand that we are actually going back to a Vedic way of life. Because the external covering is not there, that label is not there, but internally we are moving to the Vedic. And when we move to the Vedic, we have left naturally Ayurveda has also to come up, because Ayurveda is a branch of the Vedic tree according to tradition. So to nurture Ayurveda, we have to nurture the Vedic tree, and people have to become ready for the Vedic way of life. So we had a stopgap, an intermediate period where nature allowed us to go our way, and it was waiting for us to come back. And I think this revival and interest is that insight that we are getting. As a result of all our actions, we have created holes in our ozone layer, and all those, we are warming up our atmosphere. We don't have enough resources. We don't know how to manage our natural environment. All those things is now bringing us back to what is called as the Vedic way of life.
Please revert to us with your valuable comments about our serial. Write to us at Ayurveda, PB number 7102, Trichy Road, Coimbatore 641045, or email us at ayurveda@vsnl.com.
ब्रह्मा कृत्वायुषो वेदं प्रजापतिमजीगृहत् ब्रह्मा कृत्वायुषो वेदं प्रजापतिमजीगृहत् सोऽश्विनौ तौ सहस्राक्षं सोऽत्रिपुत्रादिकान् मुनिन् ते अग्निवेशादिकां सेदु पृथक् चन्द्राणि ते निरे ते अग्निवेशादिकां सेतु पृथक् चन्द्राणि ते निरे ब्रह्मा कृत्वायुषो वेदं प्रजापतिमजीगृहत् ब्रह्मा कृत्वायुषो वेदं प्रजापतिमजीगृहत्